And we are live. Good morning. Welcome to another Super Galactic Saturday. I am Jerry Sr. with Jerry Jr.
Good morning.
And it's another beautiful day. A little chilly, but not too bad. Sun's out, sky is blue. So any day above ground, it's a good day, right?
Yep.
So we're coming at you again. We're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to talk about some old school anime, Fist of the North Star. But first, we're going to kick it off talking about the latest trailer for Mega Man, right?
So it's not necessarily just Mega Man. So the trailer you sent me, I actually saw a previous trailer about a different game, and I'll share it right now. So
Okay.
basically, what's happening is there is going to be this anthology series by the people who made, was it Love, Death, and Robots, which I didn't see, I'll admit.
Right.
And it's called Secret Level.
Yeah. Now that rings a bell. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so essentially, it's going to be an anthology series based off of different games. Like right off the bat, the only ones that I things I recognize in the trailer, this particular trailer, are what's it called? Uh, I think I saw Warhammer, and I'm guessing some of these Magic dudes are World of Warcraft and stuff like that,
Yeah.
or not World of Dungeon and Dragons.
Okay.
So I have the full list of shorts that they're gonna do. So apparently they're gonna be doing an armor something based off of Armor Core, which is a third person shooter. There's gonna be one for God of War. There's gonna be one for a game called Crossfire. There's gonna be one for Dungeons and Dragons. There's gonna be one for a game called Exodus. I'm not sure what that is.
That, yeah.
Um, there's gonna be one for Honor of Kings. There's gonna be one for Mega Man. There's gonna be one for a game called New World. Atrainum. Atrainum. There's going to be one for Pac Man. There's going to be one for the PlayStation itself. There's going to be one for Sifu. There's going to be one for Spelunky. There's going to be one for the Outer Worlds. And there's going to be one for Unreal Tournament. There's going to be one for Warhammer. And finally, there's going to be one
So,
for Concord, which
so it's definitely
should
going to
be
be at
interesting.
least 2 or 3 seasons because they're not going to do all that in one season.
I guess not, no. But I think the interesting thing is that it may, because my theory is that some of these were going to be spun off into their own original series. Because
Right.
if you remember, if you're familiar with Concord, that was the new uh, multiplayer first person shooter game that kind of flopped.
Yeah, kind
And
of.
yeah, kind of.
Pretty nice. Yeah.
But so
Right. Why
basically,
even bother with that one? But yeah, that should be
well,
interesting.
here's the thing though, is that this is they probably had this in production,
Right. Right. At
and
the
so they're like, yeah, this game's gonna do great,
yeah.
and then
Right.
we're gonna do this cross media, you know,
Yeah.
brand.
I mean, I
But
like
then
the
the game
idea.
failed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I like the
the
idea of
idea is not bad.
yeah, doing all these different games, especially Mega Man's awesome. It's
Yeah.
got this sort of a lot of people are referencing Astro Boy, the Astro Boy movie.
Oh yeah, so
That kind of feel to it.
the
So
trailer you sent me was for specifically for Mega Man.
yeah, that was specifically for Mega Man's
Yeah, so that's
story,
yeah, this is
and
right here.
it looks okay. You know, we'll see.
So
Hopefully,
I know you don't recognize anything, but so right off the bat, so they're showing off Doctor Light. They're
yeah,
showing off. I'm
the armor.
guessing that's Guts
Um,
Man. That looks like Guts Man based off of
Maybe
his
yeah, it's
face.
flashing too quickly. So that's it.
Yeah, well, so let me see. Yeah, based off of his helmet, yeah, that's Guts Man. That's
Probably
Guts
yeah,
Man. And of course, that's Rock later to become
yeah.
Mega Man. So and on one hand, it looks it looks okay. On the other hand, yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier. It's very reminiscent of those semi-realistic AI drawings that you
Yeah, it
find
definitely
online.
looks like it could have been a little AI in there. I don't know. I'm just saying. Not that I'm saying it's terrible or bad, but
So here's the
yeah,
thing.
that looked too good.
Yeah, if you're feeling, I think if anybody's familiar with like the American box art for the Mega Man games, they also tried to go for a more semi-realistic approach as
Yeah, that's
opposed
right.
to the original Japanese sort of more
Yeah,
chibi
that was
Astro
kind of
Boy inspired look.
yeah, that was kind of some of the criticism I've seen on other posts that it looks too American, too Western, right? Um, which I understand that. It because I admit when I first saw it, I wasn't sure when I saw the little boy. I was kind of like, oh, maybe it's not Mega Man
No, it's
because
Mega
it looks so Western.
Man.
But yeah, it would have been nice if they had harkened back to that style, to the more
Well, it
Japanese.
feels like they're trying to find some even ground with the character
Maybe,
design.
yeah. I mean, it's just going to be a
Because they
short.
could have made him, because in the American box art, let me see if I can find it. He's just a grown man, but in the original Japanese version, it's like he's like a grown man in like a tacky suit. But in the original Mega Man design,
A
um
young boy.
he's
Yeah,
meant to be Astro Boy, but with
yeah.
a
It's
gun.
right. It's
It's
definitely
literally just that.
a hat tip to Astro Boy. So, but because I remember the series, the animated series
Oh yeah, that's right.
back then. Yeah, so
For
that
Fire
was my
Robot
first
Mega Man.
introduction to
Like
NX.
he could have very well ended up looking something like this. I don't think anybody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
you know, this
Like what?
this is what they could have. If they wanted to make it more American, they could have
Like
made it
what?
look like
What's
that,
the actual? You know what? Right?
or this.
No one's asking for that.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, unless
no.
they did it for like nostalgia. I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
no, nobody's gonna like that. So it looks
even at
like
the time.
they're trying to make them look something more like this. Like this looks
Yeah, that's definitely
closer
a
to
more
that,
Western look, but
right?
I like the
But nobody
the
wants
look
them to look like
from the
that.
series. The look from the series was better. I think.
Oh yeah, the animated series. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that one was also really good.
they nailed that one. To me, that's Mega Man. So, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, outside of just being taller, yeah, I mean, he looks closer to the video game Mega Man. So
Yeah, yeah.
I could.
So we'll see. It's kind of exciting though. Hopefully, it'll be fun. It'll be a good watch.
So,
Love, Death, and Robots is pretty cool.
you saw it?
Yeah, I saw both seasons, and
Okay.
yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of cool shorts, great animation. You know, so
Mm,
we'll see. But I don't know if like the first season, I think made a big splash of Love, Death, and Robots, right?
yeah,
And a lot of people took to it. A lot of people loved it. There was a
yeah,
lot of great shorts in there, quite memorable. The second one, I don't think made as big of a splash, right?
yeah.
Um, although it was still good. There was some good shorts in there, and some compelling stories. But yeah, it didn't seem like it made as a big of a splash as the first one. So I think there's somewhat diminishing returns with this kind of this anthology approach
Mm,
because part of it is I think there's not much to like. They're not consistent themes, right?
yeah.
Like each short, sometimes there is a parallel theme, right? But most of the time there isn't, right? They're their own thing.
So, as
Um,
someone when I was, this is a little after I went to film school. So I've worked on an anthology before as a writer and a
yeah,
producer through a program at my local community center. It was sponsored by AT&T, but
yeah, that's right. I've heard of
basically it was we had. I think an anthology works best when there's an overarching theme
it.
and
Yeah,
you have different people tackle that theme, right? So the theme that we worked with was kindness, right? And so everybody interpreted that in different ways, right? Like somebody made like I don't know how else to put it. They made it sort of this Medea style short, not in the sense that there was a man dressed as an old lady, but more so like it had it had that Tyler Perry feel to it, where it was clear like a soap
yeah,
opera
right, right.
aimed towards, and it was cool. It was one of the better shorts, and then mine was about a doctor had to help somebody who was seen as sort of was sort of vilified by society, and she had to grapple with that. So so we interpret it in different ways. Or one of my favorite anthologies, because it's technically an anthology, is Space Dandy. I don't know if you ever seen Space
Yeah, I
Dandy.
love Space Dandy. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's by the people who made like Full Metal Alchemist and Cowboy Bebop. But what's
Yeah.
cool is that each episode was like directed by a specific person. And the overarching theme with Space Dandy uh, was sort of like it was the I don't know what the term is for it, but there was a couple of things. One was definitely life and death, especially death, because spoiler alert, Space Dandy is technically immortal, and also simultaneously omnipresent. But that's in the finale. You don't learn that until the finale, and so that was definitely a reoccurring theme throughout the
Yeah.
series,
I mean,
as well as
with Love,
others.
Death, and Robots, it's Love, Death, and Robots. I
I
mean,
mean, right? Yeah,
but it's like I think it has to transcend that, right? It has to go beyond just those three. It's kind of like everything's about love and death, right?
hmm
But sometimes it's about family. Sometimes it's about sacrifice. Sometimes it's about overcoming adversity, or
yeah,
it's not just. And that's what I'm saying. So the first one, I think the theme, it made sense. Love, death, robots. So each episode was one of those three or all of those three, right?
Hmm.
On the second season, well, I think they tried to adhere, and some of them adhered to it quite well. It still was kind of like everywhere, you know.
yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I think they probably should have tried to solidify it more, But I think it still did well. I think it was still well received. But I know, like lately, I don't think there's a third season, as far as I know. I could be wrong about that, but and then now they're doing it at Amazon. So I wonder, is it the same studio that's doing it at Amazon for this one, for the secret level?
That's
Secret
that's a good
levels?
that's a good question.
Yeah,
I
that'll be
actually
interesting to
don't
find
know,
out. Yeah,
but my
that'd be
my I
interesting
think
to see, yeah.
yeah. Oh, I if it's Blur Studio.
Oh, Blur. Yeah, it's the same studio. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blur
So
Studios right here in Culver City, actually. Yeah.
oh, okay. So I'm curious. My main concern is that because um, a lot of these aren't new game. A lot of these are newer games. Like there's two retro games. Or I guess you want to count Dungeons and Dragons, and the rest are fairly new games or modern games. So I wonder, and a couple of these games, it seems like if they just barely came out, right? Concord and I see I'm guessing this Exodus game is I'm guessing this is a game that hasn't even come out yet because I don't
Yeah.
I can't find
Yeah.
anything about it.
Yeah. I don't.
And,
Yeah. It's maybe it's a matter of like also these are the games that they were able to sort of secure for the storytelling.
right,
So far as copyright and IP,
fair enough. Yeah,
that could be a big part of it too. Like especially if they're newer, then the video game producer is probably more apt to say, "Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead, do something,"
yeah. Promote my
because
game with
it's from
this.
right.
Yeah,
It's going to promote
yeah.
the game.
And I
Versus,
think that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. So
I think I would have felt better if there was a more of a balance between I guess retro games and modern games. But I guess maybe at this point,
right,
God of War, depending on which game you're talking about, God of War is a retro game at this point.
yeah,
So
God of War makes sense to me.
yeah, God of War makes
Is there
sense.
going to be a GTA?
There are no GTA. There's no
Yeah, see,
GTA.
that's
That would have been more
yeah,
interesting.
so definitely doing a GTA. That would
I feel
be
like
kind of awesome
GTA
to
has
see
a
GTA.
bigger hold on the zeitgeist of
Right, that's what I'm
gaming
saying. Like
music.
that would be pretty epic because that covers multiple
Multiple,
generations.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And they're probably not going to get like any Nintendo games, right?
Nah, I
I
mean,
doubt
you
it.
never know. I mean,
They're too protective of their IP.
right, but I think I think the success of the Mario Brothers might change their perspective.
Perhaps, yeah, that's a
So,
good
because
point.
that was the whole thing.
But
That's
it's
why they didn't do a movie for so long, is because
yeah,
the
but it's
'90s one was
yeah,
so bad.
but they wouldn't lend themselves to something like this
I guess
because
not.
it is an adult oriented approach too. It's not necessarily family
Well,
friendly.
where's the you say that, but we have they're making a Pac-Man one, Dad. How are
So
they gonna
what?
do Pac? How are
Pac-Man,
they gonna do Pac-Man?
Pac-Man is my generation, so
I know, but you're saying, oh, whether it's
I'm
too
just
family friendly, but then like
no. I'm not.
you've got Pac.
I'm saying it probably won't be family friendly. It's going to be an adult oriented, just like the
No, I
first
get
two.
that, but so how are they gonna pull off Pac-Man?
Well, I listen. Pac-Man had a wife and a baby.
Yeah,
So
but he
li-
wasn't like
listen,
these
it was
are.
a whole animated series. I used to watch it. I remember
No, I've
it was a
seen it,
whole
but these
city,
are all
right?
like.
So
Pac-
there's a lot of adult themes you can tackle with Pac-Man and have a lot of fun and be very tongue in cheek and very,
I guess
So
so.
there's
Yeah,
a lot of places you can go with
I'm just
you
saying
got
they
you got
didn't they didn't
pellet,
show
you got
him in the
ghosts.
trailer is the thing, so I don't know like you know what because so far the stuff they showed in the trailer was like super edgy and like it's
Right. Well,
war and
yeah, they're
violence.
gonna lead with the edgy stuff, right?
So
But they're gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if Pac-Man becomes something that's the standout if they get creative with it. It depends on how
yeah,
if they
we'll see.
because there's a lot of fun you can have with that. He's married, he has a kid. They can make it where the kid grows up and it's an angsty teenage pack baby.
Oh god,
And they're disrespectful. Or,
yeah,
they join a pack gang, and I don't know.
my
They
yeah,
get pack divorced.
not
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot
bad.
you can do. That's what I'm saying. There's the in laws, and like there's a plethora of things they can do
I don't know, but
with
will it be
Pac-Man.
entertaining? Is I think is the real
The
question.
question is, yeah, what direction will they go, and will it be good? Like, will
Yeah.
they execute it well, right?
Yeah,
So
there's
we'll
also
see.
the
Hopefully,
issue
they
of
do.
Concord, right? They're making a one of the episodes is going to be off of a game that technically flopped, and on top of
Yeah.
that, from what
Well,
I've
would
seen
it
right
be interesting?
now, none of the characters in this trailer are in the game.
That's what I was gonna say. Would it be interesting if they do something and it's actually better than the game? Like,
That would
like
be
Super
interesting,
Puppet,
yeah.
it becomes the talk of
I
the
hope
town,
it's better than the game.
and then that, if they're smart, they'll somehow rope that into the game, right? They'll rope that
Yeah,
story, those characters into the game, maybe re-release it or do it as DLC, right?
that would be cool.
Who knows? It might help a little
Hmm.
if they like it's all about execution, right? You got to execute the story well, and it has to resonate with the audience, right? Where people are like, you know what, this game was garbage, but this story was awesome, right? They should
Yeah.
do this story with these characters in the game, right?
Hmm.
And then hopefully they'll listen, take a lesson from who was it, Paramount, right, with Sonic.
Oh
they'll,
yeah.
they'll listen to the fans and give the fans what they want. So that'd be kind of funny. That would be hilarious
We'll see what
if
happens.
the story in this anthology is better received, right, um, than the game itself. But we'll see because it all depends on sort of Amazon is a very hit and miss streaming app, right? So kind of like Netflix. Like Netflix, you know, you either love them or you hate them type of deal because they do things for what some would call woke brownie points, right?
Hmm.
And but then they'll do something and it's like, hey, this is great, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same with Amazon. Like Amazon will do, you know, uh, what is it? The
I
was it
don't know.
Rings of Fire or whatever it's called? You know,
Oh, you're talking about the Lord of the Rings?
yeah, they'll do that.
Uh,
But then they'll also do the one based off of Game of Thrones, which was better received, right?
okay.
Or they'll do what is it? It's Shogun on there, I think. Like like
Yeah.
they have some hits, right, where it's like, okay, that's good, but they have like some really big misses.
You're talking about original stuff, right?
Yeah, well, either or. I'm just saying they'll put out, like Netflix has done Cobra Kai, and it's like, yeah, that's a hit, right? That's
That's true, yeah.
Stranger Things, at least the first like two seasons, right?
Mm,
Are solid, right? Like that's what I'm saying. But then they'll go off the rails with something else.
mm.
And it's like, yo, what are you guys doing? You had the formula, now you're deviating away from the formula. So we'll see. I'm hoping that this is a hit because I like anthology type stuff like this. So, and I really enjoyed Love, Death, and Robots. It was a lot of fun to watch because it's nice seeing great animation, right? And
Hmm.
these, very cool, very clever, original stories.
Yeah,
Really cool concepts and premises, and you know, it's nice. It's nice to see that. It's nice to be entertained with original ideas, original
yeah.
characters, original stories. And
Last thing before we move on, I wish that each short had a more distinct art style. I think that also would have made
well,
me
I haven't
more.
seen any other. Have you seen other shorts? Or
Well, the trailer, some of the trailers show a little bit of
yeah,
everything. So, like the first trailer I showed had some Warhammer in it. It had some. It looked like Armored Core stuff in it.
but they all
It
look
had some.
similar. Like
Yeah, it was all like the same sort of dark, brooding type of thing. That's what I'm saying. Like with the
uh,
Mega Man trailer, it looks the same way. It looks dark and brooding, and Mega Man really isn't classic Mega Man. Especially this is supposed to be classic Mega Man. It's not known for being dark and broody. Like there's a lot of serious stuff
yeah,
in it, but it's not known for being dark and broody. Right?
that's
I don't.
true.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
See, that goes back to your question about how they going to handle Pac-Man, right?
Yeah, I don't want
Pac-Man is
see.
not dark,
I
dark
don't want
at
dark
all.
and broody Pac. They tried dark and broody Pac Man. It's called Pac Man World 3, and it sucks. It's just
Really?
a ratchet. Yeah, it was a Ratchet and Crank. It was it was like a Jack and Daxter clone, and they like Pac Man got transported to this like edgy like
So
planet,
he was like hardcore
and
Pac-Man.
he's like and he's like punching people now, and like it was bad. You know, they whenever they try to make this kind of stuff edgier or like modern, they did it with Bomberman. Remember Bomberman?
Yeah, I do remember that.
So Bomberman, like I like Bomberman, right? This is Bomberman. Let me see. This is Bomberman. But then they tried. Then when it got into Xbox, because Xbox gamers, they're serious. So they turned Bomberman into this.
What? What is that?
That's Bomberman. That's
Really?
Bomberman for the Xbox.
It looks like uh, Diver or something.
No, yeah, exactly. The
Evil.
game was terrible, by the way, because it was literally this aesthetic, but it was like your basic Bomberman gameplay. They didn't do anything
Yeah.
special, right? You expect, it's going to be cool and edgy. No, it's just Bomberman, but now it's got an edgy coat of paint on it.
I mean, was the game at least good?
No, that's what I'm saying. It
Yeah, that's
was
the problem.
bad.
That's the real problem.
It
Was it
was
that
it
good?
was like bare bones, like it was more bare bones than the original Bomberman, just with
Hmm.
an edgier coat of paint.
Yeah.
Like this game had more to offer than this game. So that's all I'm saying. So I don't want them to try to do that with Pac-Man.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what
Hopefully,
happens.
yeah, hopefully. Well, I would imagine it'd be similar to Love, Death, and Robots, where they had some really dark post-apocalyptic themes, right? But then they also had some whimsical, you know, funny stuff in there too,
Yeah,
right?
we'll see. It
So
didn't
I'm
look like
hoping
it from the trailer, but we'll
Pac-Man
see.
will be the whimsical, fun, fun segments, right, to give you a break from the
Yeah,
dark, you know,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
cyberpunk, whatever,
Hmm.
wherever direction it's going to go. But
Well,
so
yeah.
that'll be good. That'll be perfect. So
Well, let
yeah,
us know what game you're looking forward to seeing in this anthology. Let us know which one of these games is your favorite. Let us know if you want to see Pac-Man get Pac divorced. Let us know. Let us know in the comments below. Let us know if you played any of these games and what would you like
but
to
not
see
only
in
that,
the
but
anthology.
yeah, but have you even? Because I haven't really seen a whole lot of promotion for this. That's like you said that Mega Man trailer dropped like yesterday, I think, or the day before. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's getting a lot of hype so far, but maybe it's still early, I guess.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. So let us know if you're hyped for it, if you're excited for it. at all. Because I mean, I would love to see it. So we'll
I
see.
would like it to be good, but we'll see.
Yeah, I would definitely want it to be good. Please let it be good.
So one thing that I am excited for is back in 2023 of September. Uh, there was a key visual that was released for a reboot of Fist of the North Star,
That's right.
also known as Hokuto no Ken. So I believe either last year or this year is the 40th anniversary of Fist of the North Star, and
Nice.
so they're good. Apparently, they're going to be doing something special. They haven't announced what yet, but I am excited for that.
Very exciting.
So
Yeah,
recently, did you watch Fist of the North Star?
yeah. I watched it.
Did you watch the show or
The,
the movie? Because
I
I know
watched
most people saw the
I
movie
watched some of the
in America.
episodes of the show, and I watched the movie because it's kind of just a compilation, right? Of, so I've seen the movie more than I've seen the series.
Okay.
And but yeah, it's it's intense, man. Like but looking at it now, uh, in retrospect, I appreciate it far more. Not that I didn't like it before. I loved it, but um, it was intense, you know. And but looking back, and especially in relation to current day offerings, right? Even in the
Mhm.
anime space, Fist of the North Star really stands out. Like, it stands on its own, uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
and it was very, very unique. You know.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think the what's cool about Fist of the North Star is that it still lives on today within the pop culture realm through mostly through memes. Like
Yeah,
you've probably seen like the "you're already dead" thing a
yeah,
bunch of times. Like literally one of my
yeah. That's why I
friends.
titled the thumbnail that.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
you gotta recognize this.
Like literally like last year, my best friend sent me a meme for my birthday, and it was "you're already birthday." Like everybody does it, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's
And even other anime memes on Fish of the North Star. Right, I was watching this cooking anime about baking bread. I think it was called I don't want to butcher the name, but literally there's a scene where the dude is explaining yeast, and
yeah.
then he rips his shirt off, and he just looks like Kenshiro, and he literally says you're, and he like does the thing, and he's like you're already bread, and then the dude just turns into
That is
yeast.
so cheesy.
It's so stupid. Yeah, it was so, I was like, what?
That's terrible.
Like everybody,
That's like dad joke level of funny.
yeah, like everybody does it.
Yeah, already
No
great.
matter what sort of anime genre you're watching, you can't escape Fist of the North Star
Yeah,
because it's
that's
so
true.
iconic.
I
It's
mean,
just
even your favorite JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
oh, like literally.
Listen,
Listen, I'm a
I
big
was
fan.
when I
JoJo
rewatched it
is
again, I was
yeah,
like, "Yo,
yeah. It's literally uh,
it's JoJo."
it's literally well, yeah. It's JoJo. I mean, JoJo's a ripoff of Fist of the North Star. Like
Yeah, definitely.
even Araki knows that. Also, the authors of both series are apparently good friends. So I mean that
That
sort
makes
of
sense. Yeah,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, you can't escape it. But I think my thing is my main issue is that a lot of people really don't understand Fist of the North Star and like the point of it, and a lot of it has to do with I guess like the masculinity aspect. I think is
yeah.
tends
That's
to
what I was gonna
be
say. Yeah,
misconstrued
yeah.
because
Well, it's. I think at the time it wasn't, but I think uh, because of the sort of cultural evolution, and I don't mean evolution in a good way either, but simply the fact that the general zeitgeist has shifted, right, and mainly against masculinity versus for, right, versus favoring masculinity, and so it's seen through a different, very different lens, you know. And
there's that, but there's also like because there's a lot of different shows that are in the vein of uh, Fist of the North Star, I'm thinking Baki the Grappler. I mean, I really can't complain.
Yeah.
Another famous, quote unquote melee show is Baki the Grappler.
Yeah.
There's what's it called? It's a new one. It's sort of like this. Kengan Ashura. Kengan Ashura is another one. It's like this underground tournament thing. There's uh, what's another one? But Baki's the other big manly anime, whatever. And a lot of people sort of lump that together.
Yeah.
Like, if they're like, if you like Fist of the North Star, you'll like Baki, and it's like, no,
Yeah. That's not the
it's
same.
very different. It's
Yeah.
not because there's two different. It's thematically it's
The
different.
yeah, the themes are very different.
Yeah,
And but you see hyper like what's perceived as hyper masculinity, and they go, "Oh, it's all the same."
yeah. That's
And
entirely not true.
yeah,
Like the literally in the first episode, right, of Fist of the North Star, the first thing you see Kenshiro do. Well, I should probably, before I dive into that, for those who aren't familiar, right, Fist of the North Star is essentially Mad Max starring Bruce Lee. It takes
yeah.
place in the
That's
post-apocalypse.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
World
It's
War
it's
Three
Mad
happened.
Max starring Bruce Lee with a little Akira thrown in for good measure.
Yeah,
It's
and
definitely yeah,
so you follow this guy. His name's Kenshiro, and he's the master of this 2,000-year martial art called Hokuto Shinken, or Fist of the North Star. And he wanders the earth. In the first arc, he wanders the earth in search of his rival who had kidnapped his girlfriend, and that's where you start off in the story. And when we're introduced to Kenshiro, the first thing we see him do visibly on screen is heal a mute girl, right, with
yeah.
his power. It's not kill anybody. It's not like flex his muscles. He heals a person, you
Right.
know. And because one of the major themes in the series is love. Like people, like the theme song of the show, people misname it as "You Are Shock," but the main title of the song is called, in English, it translates to "Take Back the Love," or "I Will Torimoto said." That's by Crystal King, right? So the main a big theme of the series is love,
Yeah.
and that's shown in a lot of different ways, right? Because one of the things that I appreciate about Fist of the North Star is that it doesn't hold back on the brutality of you know the post-apocalypse, right? Because I
Right. Yeah.
remember,
It's pretty intense.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's
it's not just
but
because of
it's
the
on
gore.
purpose though. It's not done in a way where it's glorifying the brutality.
No,
It's done in a way to create the proper contrast between what's considered the villains, right,
yeah,
and our heroes.
yeah, and not
And
just and like and the heroes and we're not just talking about Kenshiro either. So there
yeah,
was an
yeah, there's
episode,
others, right? Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So there was an episode where uh, this in it's later on in the series. There's a mom, right? Because there's this like tyrant who's like kidnapping children for like slave labor, and so we see this house, right? And like the mom left like a kid outside of the house for the bandits to steal, so they don't kill her. And you think, oh, well, she's sacrificing her. At first, you think, oh, she's sacrificing her kid to save her own skin. But then you look in the basement. You look in the basement of her house, and there's even more children.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, and so you realize,
It's
oh,
it's a
he,
conundrum. It's a moral.
yeah, it's a moral conundrum because it's like, well, if I leave out one, they won't come. They'll think that he's the only child,
Yeah.
and I can
Yeah.
save the rest. And
It's
it's awful. You're like, oh my
yeah.
gosh,
It's the worst case, like the worst possible scenario you can think of.
yeah,
And but it's once again, it's there though to create that contrast, right,
yeah,
between like ultimate injustice
yeah,
and actual oppression,
yeah,
and love and heroism and true sacrifice, right? Personal
right.
sacrifice. So yeah, it's like
Now,
you said, it's
obviously,
intense.
Kenshiro saves the children, but like, it's like the fact that people have to resort to this. It's like it's insane, right?
Right. But that's
Because they,
how that's the world they're living in, right? And
yeah,
that's it gives you that snapshot with these scenarios, and it's like, yo, like
yeah,
what world is this, right? This is not our world. This is not current day, right?
yeah. They make that very evident,
Yeah.
and they do a really good job of that, especially with Kenshiro, right? Because also when we're introduced to Kenshiro, a lot of people assume that he's like this ultimate badass. He's invincible, but like
Yeah.
literally, the show starts out with him starving, no water. He just got his butt kicked by his arch rival Shin. He stabbed him 7 times. He literally stole his girlfriend, and and one line that's really important is Shin says basically like the difference between you and me, Kenshiro, is obsession. Now the subtitles say obsession, right?
Yeah.
But I think what he really meant is ambition, right? Because Shin immediately, once the apocalypse happened, he's like, I'm going to start this gang. These people are going to follow me. We're going to rule the world. And then I'm going to steal Kenshiro's girlfriend, right? But Kenshiro, once they escape from like, the, the nuclear bombs and stuff, like from the vault, whatever, they're like, listen, I just want to live with my girlfriend happily ever after, he doesn't have any ambition. He just wants to live with his girlfriend, but he doesn't gain the ambition. He doesn't gain any ambition until he has a reason to, which is when Shin kidnaps his girl, right?
Right.
So Shin inadvertently gave Kenshiro his ambition, right? And obviously his motivation for ambition sort of changes throughout the story, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of levels to his character, right? He's not sort of driven by this one single thing, so that prompts him to action. You know.
But we see him, and he it's like he a lot of the there's a lot of cool moments in the show, and it's when I'm talking about cool moments. Obviously, there's the violence, right? He literally beats up a tank, like he punches a tank until it explodes, and it's great. It's cool, but there's also scenes where like he's meditating, right, and like a butterfly will land on his forehead or whatever. Or one of my favorite scenes is actually uh, him, Kenshiro, and he meets this kid called Bat. And Bat or in America, he's called Bart, like Bart Simpson. It's kind of funny. But Bat, he's like this scavenger kid. He's kind of
Yeah.
smart. He builds his own car, and he's like, he's of the mentality of might makes right. Fight
Right.
to survive. Survival of the fittest. Kenshiro obviously doesn't see it that way. So they save this village, right, from these bandits. And Bat's like, and Kenshiro tells Bat to get in the car. We're going, and you know, Bat's like, "What are you talking? We just saved these people, right? We should enjoy the food along with them. They owe us." And Kenshiro points to a baby crying, and he's like, "You know why he's crying? Because her mother can't breastfeed him because the mom didn't eat enough food. They need it more than we do. Let's go." And it's like, man, he gets it. It's like, it's like
Yeah.
he sees the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So,
There's a great. There's a lot. And it's a lot of scenes like that. A lot of acts of kindness and mercy in the midst of incredible brutality. Right.
yeah,
And that's kind of what sets it apart. Is it's not just about um, kicking butt and taking names.
yeah. Like
Right.
the show is actively against senseless violence
Yeah.
and brute force for the sake of it.
Right, and that's the contrast is these these roving gangs, right, are out there, and many of them you would think, well, they're surviving too, and it's like, well, yeah, but they're surviving by terrorizing other people,
Yeah.
right? And many of them do, commit, great brutality just because they can,
Oh yeah.
just because why not, right? And also as a means of sort of terrorizing the peaceful towns and villages uh, around to sort of keep them in check, right? To say, hey, don't mess with us, don't try to fight back, right?
Yeah.
It's just to kill their spirits. It's like I said, there's a lot of levels. Like one episode you pointed out specifically is episode 25, and we see that happen. Well, a lot more than that, but that's one of the dynamics you see at play is that they are just terrorizing this
Oh
village,
yeah.
and all they're doing is simply trying to exist,
Exactly.
right? They're just surviving.
You
But
know
yeah,
what's the worst part
it's
though?
relentless. Yeah, go ahead.
And so later on, you meet Kensho's older brother, Rao. Rao is the ultimate bad guy in the first season, and for good reason. This guy, I'm convinced this guy could kill the Hulk with his bare hands. That's how tough this guy is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like literally, this guy invent like so. There's a scene out. You haven't seen it, but there's literally a scene where he's on a horse. Like someone challenges him to a duel, and he's on his horse, his elephant-sized horse, and he's like, "All right, fight me." And the dude's like, "You're not gonna get off your horse." And I'm like, "You're not good enough for me to get off my horse."
Right. That's right.
And I'm like, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you." And the dude jumps in the air, and while still holding on to the reins of his horse, he hits him with his aura, and he falls back down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's like, oh, you punched me 100 times. Oh, that wasn't my fist. That wasn't my physical fist. That was my fighting energy. He literally pulled his stand out to fight this guy.
Yeah, basically.
Basically, now you know where JoJo got it from. But
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
he
There's a
just-
lot of you see a lot of
but that's not the reason why I mentioned Rao, though. Although it's cool. So because Rao, he is of the mentality of like, might makes right, but also it's like power is justice, things like that.
right.
And he goes to conquer this village, right? But the village, like, because they know who Rao is, so they decide, yeah, we're just gonna surrender immediately. And Rao's like, oh, you're not gonna fight back? He's like, no, we know who you are. We give up, we surrender, we swear loyalty. And Rao's like, okay, yeah, kill them all. I don't want weak subjects. And so he just slaughters the village
Yeah, just
because it's like, yeah, if you're not willing to,
to fight for yourself. Yeah,
then you don't deserve to live. And so he just kills them all. And I'm like, what? It's
this
nuts.
dude is
Like he is evil. And what's crazy is much like in Transformers 1, right? And how we saw the evolution of Megatron is that we get to see like what caused Rao. We get to see what caused Rao to become this way, right? And the show clearly sets him off as the villain, but like if you were to see Rao's backstory, you would understand, right? Because he did have to endure a lot of trials even before the apocalypse, right? Like
that's right.
because he was an orphan, he had a brother, and they didn't have a home, and they wanted to get trained by this kung fu master, and the kung fu master throws them both off a cliff, and he's like, well, listen, if you're good enough to be my pupils, then climb up the mountain. And so Raul got a broken arm, and his brother's got a broken leg, so he puts his brother on his back, right? And lifts them both up the cliff with his broken arm.
Crazy.
Like this dude, so it's like that's like he is this way because that's how people treated him.
Right. Yeah.
If you're not strong enough, you're not
his
worth it.
worldview makes perfect sense and context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's still the villain, obviously.
Yeah.
They don't sugarcoat it.
It doesn't justify it. It's just, but it's like you get a sense of, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he's the way he is.
Yeah. and it's I think the show does a good job of uh, of knowing when to sympathize with him and also knowing like, hey, he's still the bad guy. you know,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not.
Keep that
It's not
composure.
even sympathizing. It's simply understanding. You know,
Yeah,
because that's the thing. Even despite his backstory, you don't. That's at least for me. I didn't feel sorry for him. It was more like, okay, now I see where this mindset comes from.
yeah,
Like because at the end of the day, you realize, but he does know better. It's not like he has no choice but to be this terrible person. It's like no, he just chooses to that way to go about the world because that's what happened to him. So he's just continuing that mindset, that worldview. You know,
yeah.
and it's kept him alive, right? It's allowed him to survive, but it still doesn't justify it. Right? So,
No, no,
and
it
that's the
doesn't.
thing. It's in contrast to a lot of how stories are told in more recent years, right? Where the villain is more sympathetic, right?
Yeah,
It's like he's not sympathetic. Like you don't feel like oh poor guy.
no, no, not at all.
You don't. You just go okay. That's his history. That's his path. But at the same time, it's like yeah, but he's still a terrible person.
Yeah,
Like he doesn't have to be this terrible person. you know so you know what I mean, like
yeah,
it's a very different dynamic. That's what I was saying, like it's very unique in that sense when you start looking at it contextually in relation to a lot of, not everything, but a lot of stories that are told today, where villains are painted in a very sympathetic manner, right?
yeah.
But here it's like yeah, you get a sense of his origins and his story, but you're not feeling sympathy for it.
No,
And the story doesn't require you to either.
no,
Like
it doesn't.
there's no redeeming, aspect where it's like, oh, we should forgive him. Like, no,
No,
like,
no,
no,
that
don't
show doesn't
forgive
do
him.
that.
Yeah, it doesn't do that at all. So that's kind of the beauty of the story is that it doesn't try to, you know, sugarcoat that. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely. So the main reason I showed you episode 25 specifically is at that point we're introduced to Ray and Mamiya specifically.
yeah,
Mamiya is one of my favorite characters in the show for multiple reasons, but one of the things that in today's you know culture, she would be considered your typical girl boss character, if we want to call it. But the thing is, though, is that the
well, I
the
wouldn't say she's
show.
considered that. I don't think she would be at all. Um,
Well, I mean, I agree, yeah,
yeah,
but
I think she goes against that, um, like wholly and completely. That's kind of what makes her unique. Contextually speaking, is that she's not a girl boss in the way that it's defined today. You know what I
no,
mean?
I agree. I think
Yeah,
on a surface level, like when you're first
yeah.
introduced to
Surface
her, like
level.
she's got like a flamethrower, she's got ninja weapons, she's got like a killer yo-yo.
Yeah, she's definitely she's tough. She's formidable, but she's also not a Mary Sue.
No,
Yeah,
but and a big reason for that is in the context of the show, she's the leader of this village because her parents died, and so she took on the responsibility.
right.
Her and her brother, right? But her brother ends up getting wandering off to like get some like pick some berries or something.
Yeah, for her
Yeah, for
specifically.
her, yeah.
Yeah,
And he ends up getting killed for it, and like the village people want to save him, but she's like, "No, don't open the gates. It's a trap. They're gonna kill more of us. You do the
right.
consequences." And like she has to make that decision, knowing,
Yeah, it's a tough moment because
yeah,
then she finds out because they kind of torture him a little bit and they do kill him, but once she finds out sort of why, like what he was doing, she finds the strawberries and it's like oh,
yeah, because
like
it was
it
her
hits her.
birthday, and those are her
Yeah,
favorite
it
things.
hits her hard because I think, and this is what I suspect is that she probably didn't even remember
Her
it was
that was her
her whole
birthday.
birthday. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. Like and that's what's so tough. Like her brother remembered her birthday after all that they've been through and all everything that's going on,
Yeah.
and he tried to do like a very simple thing, you know,
Yeah.
and but it it just didn't, because he thought he was slipping by, and he's like, oh, I've been undetected. There's no gangs around.
Yeah.
Let me hurry up and get back. You're thinking, okay, it looks like he's gonna make it. I figure worst case, right?
Hmm.
She's gonna yell at him, right?
No,
And
no, he's
nope,
dead.
it's a very tragic scene. Um, yeah, and like I said, they pull it, and see, this is what I was saying earlier about how it's brutality for the sake of brutality, right? Like these gangs are just, it's like they don't have to do anything, right? Like the guy isn't doing anything to them; he's simply passing through.
Yeah.
And even let's say okay, fine, he's in your you stop him, you smack him around a little bit, you take his whatever valuables he has, right? But it's like they take it to a whole other level where it's like, no, we're gonna take you and make you an example,
Yeah.
you know, um, and mainly because of um, what happened to some of the other members of their gang, and so now they want to say, look, see, we're gonna you know make an example out of him, and you know what I mean. And yeah, they basically kill him, and it's very messed up, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. I forgot the other guy's name that was with him.
The good guys.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, Ray. His
Ken,
name's
Ken,
Ray.
yeah, Ray. It's kind of interesting because he's kind of aloof to it all at first. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like he doesn't really react either way, and he kind of compliments her for being a good leader.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have a great, she's so strong, she's so, kind of like he almost like he's buying into that girl boss aspect, right?
Yeah.
Like she's so strong, like she protected you guys, and all this stuff. And then they're like, this is her brother. Like she's not crying at all,
Yeah.
right? But the
Not in front of
villagers,
them.
not
No.
in front of them, but they're just wailing. They're like, and and they reveal like this is her own brother, like
Yeah.
like she let him die to save, basically to save us.
So the reason that he reacted to that is because Ray is on a journey
Well, yeah, yeah,
for
that's
his
what you getting
sister.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but that's what I'm saying. Like he's like complimenting her strength, but then they later, him and Ken see her, and she's at the grave of her parents,
Yeah.
and she's just bawling,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and they're just like, "Yo,"
Yeah.
you can tell. And I love the animation because it's very nuanced, right?
Yeah.
It's as nuanced as watching a live action movie, where
Yeah.
you see their expressions and they almost seem expressionless, but you can sense, like you can see
No, that yeah.
they,
You
you
could
know,
sense that they're angry and
yeah,
upset.
they're pissed, and I was like, "Yo, Ken's about to do something."
I
He's like,
mean,
he's
I
gonna do
mean,
something.
when has he not ever done something? But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no.
So it works out pretty interesting because they end up both confronting these warlords, whatever, and it's kind of funny, he's, I guess, we're both moved by the tears of a woman.
Yeah.
Then you find out more about his story and like and you find out his sister,
Hmm.
and it's like, yeah, like, so at first he seems very aloof and kind of callous, you know
Yeah.
but you find out, oh well, he's got his own motivation, and you know um, they, long story short, they take out the warlords, pretty easily.
I mean, yeah.
It's a great scene because they're, the leaders like sitting there like, what what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know
Because
what's
they're just talking to each other, and he's like,
yeah,
"Why
right.
aren't you scared of us?"
Yeah, why aren't you,
It's
like, they're
like,
standing there,
because you're not scary.
because Ken is walking towards their territory
Yeah.
by himself, and then once he gets there, he takes out like one guy, right? Then what's his name is already there.
Hmm.
He's and it's like, well, what are you doing here? Well, I guess you're here for the same reason I'm here, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like chatting it up with each other,
Yeah. Like,
and,
hello,
they're like
we're right
surrounded by
here.
this gang. Yeah, it's like, guys, we're about to kill you. Remember? So
Yeah.
it's a clever scene. It's funny, and some cool action. They're taking them out in their own special style, right? Um, but yeah, it's like, and I love, he comes back, Ken, and she's there. She's looking at the cake because the little girl put the strawberries on the cake,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And she's remembering her brother, and he brings the little necklace or whatever, you know.
But so the reason why, I what makes that for me, what made that moment when she's at her grave so significant is that because the they they don't treat they treat the loss of Mamiya's, I guess you want to call it her womanhood, as a bad thing,
Yeah, it's a
right?
tragedy,
It is
right?
because
It
that
is a
tragedy.
tragedy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because she's not allowed to be vulnerable, and she's not
yeah.
allowed to
It's
cry.
just
And
like
she's not,
the little girl, right?
yeah,
And the little boy. It's the same thing. The loss of innocence, right?
yeah.
It's the
They're not
fact that
allowed to be
they aren't
kids.
allowed to be kids. They can't just be
You know.
carefree anymore, and they're always vulnerable. They're
Yeah,
always in danger, right?
yeah,
And with her, she's an adult, but she's still a woman, and she's still vulnerable, and she still has her feeling. That's what I was saying. Like she's actually the antithesis to the girl boss because she's still a woman. She's still feminine, and she still has emotions, and she still has to deal with reality. Like things don't just work out in her favor just because she bosses up or something.
but
You know.
what makes her a great character is that in spite of that, she's still courageous. She's still virtuous.
Yeah,
She's
right.
still,
I mean, it took courage just to do what she did, knowing that this is my brother. He's the
yeah,
last of my family, but I can't jeopardize the lives of. Like compare that to a lot of current day stories, right? Where that scenario would play out very differently,
oh
right?
yeah,
She
absolutely.
would have went out there and got her brother back and completely succeeded because you can't have this failure, right? You can't have this moral ambiguity. You can't have this ultimate
Well,
terrible
it's not really like,
conundrum.
yeah,
I'm just saying, like a lot of more modern writers wouldn't have wrote it that way.
yeah,
That's a realistic scenario, right? She said, "It's my brother," and she wasn't hyper emotional about it. She was like, "No, we can't open the gate." The others were like, "Open the gate!" Like they were screaming and
yeah.
shooting. She was like, "No, we can't do that." Because she's like, they're
It's gonna,
gonna just
yeah,
slaughter the rest of us.
yeah.
But then a current day writer would have said, "No, let's figure out. Let's have a girl boss up.
She's gonna
She's gonna,
backflip, and then
yeah, she's
she's
gonna
gonna
flip
beat
over the
him up.
wall, and
Yeah,
she's gonna take them out and outsmart them, and all by herself, right?" And that's what I'm saying. It's like, no, this is a realistic, more grounded scenario within the context of the world. Like if you want to know why, what's called modern storytelling, I guess, or modern Hollywood, a lot of it doesn't work. That's why, because they're not willing to do that hard thing where the character has to make an impossible decision and actually work through a story like that with this character.
yeah.
You know, like they're not willing to, especially a female character. They're not willing to do that. It's like because of current day, well, perceived sensibility. I think general audiences would love it, and they're not going to go, oh, that's a woman, you can't have her fail at something, right? I think it's mainly within the bubble of Hollywood where you have that mentality, right? Where they can't have a woman fail, they can't have her actually be challenged. You know,
Well, it's people. It's a lot of those people ran ran those movies are already out of touch
yeah, with just
with
audience.
regular people. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
so
just yeah, exactly.
they're not gonna. I feel like they're not gonna be able to write meaningful conflicts anyways, right? Because they think
Yeah,
that
probably not. Yeah,
because they think that like they don't want to acknowledge that a woman being strong looks different than a man being strong, right?
exactly. Exactly.
Even before meeting Mamiya, right? We meet Ken's girlfriend,
Yeah,
Yulia or Julia, if you're an American,
yeah,
and she's stuck with Shin, and Shin's trying to woo her is like, look, I built this city in your honor. I built this statue in your likeness. You've got water, and it's like, and she's constantly like, how many people died
Right.
to build this city? How many
Right. She has a
people had?
conscience.
Yeah, she has a
Right.
conscience, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like when
He
Shin
can't do
tries,
it. He's tired of it.
yeah, and then when
Yeah.
Shin tries to kiss her, he like bites him on the lip,
Right.
and then it's like, no, it's like that's not. It's like she's continuously like virtuous, and she
Yeah.
thinks of others. All right,
Right.
she doesn't
Yeah.
give in to Shin's, and it's like, yeah, it makes you respect the character, right? It
Exactly.
makes it all more sad that when, because eventually, like Ken, he gets like ambushed and they, like trap him in like a battleship. It's a cool scene, and like everyone thinks he's dead, and Julia instead of, and like Shin City's burning down at this point. It's like, it's all right, Julia. I can make a new city for you. And like at that, she's like, "Yeah, we can't keep doing this." It's like she essentially she ends her own life. She like jumps off
Yeah.
the floor.
It's
It's
too
like,
much.
if
Yeah.
you're gonna keep hurting people for my name, then I don't need to be
Right. Exactly. She can't deal with it. Yeah.
here. Yeah, and it's
And
like, and it makes it all the more tragic when she dies, because she was this good person.
right. She was trying to advocate for humanity.
Yeah,
Right. For just being a because you're in this dystopian post-apocalyptic landscape, hellscape, really. And it's like, so where is the morality? Where's the mercy and the grace?
yeah,
Right. And that's represented by her and by Ken. It's like that's the whole point. You
yeah.
know.
I think there's a saying that money doesn't corrupt; it reveals.
Right.
And I believe it's the same thing with hardship. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
hardship reveals your true character, and
That's right.
that's something that Fist of the North Star does very well. And I bring that up because when I was watching it with my brother, he brought up a good point. Where it's like a lot of these people were just like regular doctors or like taxi drivers or businessmen,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden nuclear apocalypse happens, and now they're bandits and murderers and rapists. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like, it's nuts. Because
Yeah.
like, yeah, most of these people probably weren't 12-foot goons with mohawks, and you know what I'm saying? They were like
Right.
regular
They were
people.
just regular people, but that's what happens. And we see that in real life, right? There's um,
Yeah, when hardship
accounts
happens, it reveals
accounts in
the
history
character.
where
Yeah.
you have been in at war who do atrocious things because out on the battlefield, right? There is no law and order. There's no direct consequences,
Yeah.
and all you have is your conscience and your moral grounding, right? And that's what we see here, with Ken, is he has a moral grounding,
Yeah.
and he operates that way, and it's highlighted
And it inspires
because,
others.
yeah, and it inspires it, and it's highlighted because of the depravity and suffering around him, right? And he reacts based on that, right? And that's
Yeah.
why we can clearly identify him as the hero, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what heroes do. They react to adversity in that way, right? Um, yeah, it's quite powerful. There's a lot of nuance, you know, in this series and in the story. So, uh, but yeah, that got me though when they killed the brother. I was like, yo,
Oh yeah. It
that's
was
that's messed up.
awful. And
Yeah,
it's like it gets worse. I don't know what to
yeah,
say. That's all I
yeah.
can really say.
It
But it
does.
also gets better. And because like I said, Kenshiro, through his fighting, he inspires other people, right?
Right. Yeah.
And like as like when they go to rescue another one of Kensho's brothers, right? And they're fighting. Eventually, a lot of the oppressed people, start fighting alongside him, right? They're not just watching Ken do all the work. They're like,
Yeah.
if it's like, oh, if he could fight, then we could fight. And it's like,
Yeah.
and a
Right.
lot of the bandits, once their leader is killed, they like
Yeah, they start
They join Ken.
flipping over. Yeah,
Yeah, it's great,
yeah,
and it's like
right.
it happens. It happens. It doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it's really appreciated because essentially it's like, you know, it's like people. These people are convinced that the only way to survive is to side with the strong, whether they're
Right,
good or not.
right.
So and that's sort of the moral
Well,
dilemma. Do you,
it's
do you
defining.
side who's right, or do you side with who's the strongest?
Well, not just who's right, but understanding what strength is. That it's more than just just brutality.
Yeah.
That there is a such thing as sort of strength of character.
Mm,
Moral strength, intellectual strength, right? And I think that's what Ken embodies as well. You know, um, and that's what I mean. Like it wasn't just his power; it's the fact that he has the strength of character to use it in a manner that benefits others. Because he could easily be a warlord himself, and you know,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean, like quite easily, right? Uh,
yeah, but
but
he doesn't.
he doesn't because he has the strength of character, right? He understands right and wrong, and he lives by it, and that inspires others. You see what I mean? Like that gets people going. You know what? He's right.
Yeah,
Like, and he has the strength to be right, even in the midst of the odds being against him, and
yeah,
no one really being on his side, right? And that's powerful,
yeah.
right?
There's a really great scene with this character Lynn, where the village gets held hostage. Ken's not there, Ray's not there, and Mommy is not there, so nobody's there to help. And Lynn, the little girl, she gets found by like the warlord. They're working for Rao, and they're like, you know, everybody has to brand themselves with our army's logo, or you get thrown. They literally build a furnace. So
Yeah,
it's literally worship us or go into the furnace. And Lynn, this everybody is already caved in because they have to watch one person burn half to death,
yeah,
and so they had got branded and stuff. And Lynn's like, you know, no, the minute I follow a demon, I stop being human. It's literally what and she takes her shoes off, and then she walks to the fire herself.
yeah. That's right. That's
Like,
great, man.
and it's like, and everybody's watching her like, here's a 10-year-old girl, and she
Yeah,
has more balls
had
than
more
all of us.
courage. Yeah,
Yeah, right. And then
yeah, that was intense.
obviously Ray ends up saving her, but once again, the village, they retaliate. They're like, this little girl, like, what? We can't
It's
let this
like, what are
girl.
we doing?
Yeah,
We're adults here.
yeah,
Yeah, like, and that's what I'm saying, man. It's there's a lot more to it than just brute force violence and what's been coined as hyper masculinity or toxic masculinity and all this nonsense. It's like, no, that's what masculinity is. It's the expression of strength of character, you
yeah,
know. And Fist of the North Star does a excellent job of doing that, of giving us that kind of story. Um, and yeah, it's intense, man. Like I
yeah,
almost forgot how good it was. They started rewatching it. So
yeah. I mean, it gets annoying because people only hyper fixate, and I do it too. Whenever I show people the show, I'm showing off the scenes where you know he's fighting a giant 20-foot tall Mr. T with a spike mohawk with little spikes,
yeah,
or where he's fighting 12-foot tall Hulk Hogan, or stuff like that. But like I but I fell in love with the show because of the a lot of the deeper stuff, right? Yeah,
yeah, definitely. It's a and there's no actual moral ambiguity either, and I think that's why it's such a beautiful series. You understand clearly what is right and what's wrong. You know, contrary to a lot of what we've seen, it doesn't mince words, so to speak, right?
No.
You understand clearly who's wrong and who's right, um, and you also understand decisions that are made. You know,
Yeah, I think that's also what makes it stand out is that the show doesn't shy away from people making tough decisions, right? But
yeah,
they don't paint those decisions as like,
it's easy or justified.
yeah,
You know, even if they're hard, like you said, with her choosing not to save her brother, it's like it's not painted like she's someone righteous,
no,
or that she's just an evil person or a coward. Or it's just a tough situation,
yeah,
and you can empathize with that for sure, right? Like, yeah,
absolutely,
what could she have done? We don't know, right? Um, could they have saved him? What how? What would you decide, right?
yeah. Because even Ray was like, "Don't jump," because they'll just stab immediately and then they'll scatter, right?
Yeah, right.
Because they're trying to
Yeah, there's
get
just
everybody
no.
out.
Yeah, it's a lose situation. Even if after they got their vengeance, right, through Ken and everything, it's still, you know, it still falls empty, right? When he brings her his necklace,
Yeah,
you know, it's like a birthday gift, you know, but he's like, he's dead. He's still dead. It didn't bring him back. You understand? Like, it doesn't, and that's the tragedy, right? It's like, because it wasn't just about. That's why it was apropos also, right? Because a lot of you look at it from this postmodern perspective, and it's like, oh, he had to fight for the girl or fight for the woman or whatever. To say, well, no,
like
it's
they
like
killed a guy.
modern day interpretation would be, well, she goes out and gets vengeance. She mounts up, she gets her guns, and
But
she
that
takes
wouldn't that
the
wouldn't be responsible because she left. She would have
right.
left the village.
Right. She was. It's like, well, she should have did that in the first place. You see what I mean? Like, it wouldn't. But that's what the modern interpretation would be, right? They would say, well, no, she has agency. She doesn't need a man to fight for her, so she has to go out and take out those warlords and whatever, right?
Oh,
She
see,
she has to do it. She has to get vengeance for her brother, and but it's it falls flat, right? It falls empty, right? And it just becomes this sort of spectacle, right?
yeah, I don't.
Because
I don't think people understand the point of agency because, like, there's agency. Like, they think moral agency is just like people. Well, they say agency, but they never specifically go into moral agency.
right,
Thing,
that's right.
right?
That's
And
exactly
there's a big difference, right? Because it's like the things, the actions you take, still have consequences.
exactly. They still matter, and that's the whole point. Is despite what happened, right? She still has to hold it together
Yeah,
because there's still hundreds more people who rely on her as their leader,
yeah,
right? And so you can't just, I'm gonna go out and take out the guy that killed my brother, and you know, okay, then who's gonna lead? Is there someone else that can take your place?
uh,
At that point, no, right? You understand? It's like, then what kind of example is that? Is every leader supposed to do that? Just take vengeance on every person that gets killed, right?
yeah,
And the reality is it's sadly her brother was irresponsible.
yeah. Even if he meant well.
Yeah, even if it meant well, it was irresponsible for him to go out that far out, knowing the danger, knowing, and he believed that he could do it because, he thought he was smarter and faster, and, you know, and
Yeah,
he wanted to do something nice for his sister, which is nice, but, you know,
yeah,
so, it's like you have all these factors, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the modern interpretation, I think, would be very different, and when I say modern, I just mean current day, really. So
No, I get it.
this is a modern anime. Like it came out in the 80s. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, the
you know,
80s
like
at this point is like what,
yeah,
50 years ago.
ancient time. I know, yeah.
Like
No, but you know,
there's a guy in my office who's never seen a floppy disk.
you
It's
said
kind
a
of funny.
floppy disk.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess I believe it. I mean, there's people who've never seen a phone booth
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
or a rotary phone, or
Yeah.
or even know what a rotary phone is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of depressing.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, think about it. Your generation and younger have never known a time where a computer didn't exist, let alone a cell phone
that is true. Yeah.
or the internet.
Yeah.
I can remember a time where none of those existed.
That's true. I mean, that being said, though, I can remember a time where, you know, mobile, like having a computer, I didn't have a computer in the palm of my hand all the time, you know?
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly my point.
It's all
Right.
relative.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that what we
When I
were
say
talking
computer, I
about?
mean a personal computer. I don't mean I know computers been around way before.
No, I agree. No, I
But yeah.
agree. But
Yeah.
it's like, you know, it's like,
Um,
and we had to print out, you know, I was telling you, we had to print out the directions. And he's like, "Well, what? Why didn't you just look on your phone?" It's like,
yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's like
it's like,
print. What? Like who prints anymore?
yeah,
Or, like a printer. Who needs a printer anymore? Right? Like
yeah, exactly.
everything's email or post or something.
Ebooks, yeah.
Yeah, it's like who's printing out documents? Like and for what? But
Oh man,
that's kind of where we are. Like, you know, I don't use a printer anymore. I don't see the purpose.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's very rare that I'll use a printer. Like rare. Like we're talking,
Mm.
you know, a year could go by and I'll never use a printer.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how bad it is. Like, so yeah, I mean, just current day sensibilities, especially in relation to what we've seen in Hollywood, right? Where you don't have this type of nuanced storytelling. You know, um, like I said, I think it was apropos for Ken because it's not just about him being because in that moment he wasn't a hero, right? When
no,
he was getting revenge.
yeah,
He was and vengeance for her, right? And that's the thing. Had they done nothing, they would still be right, right? Because she never turned around and said, "Get him," right?
no, no. They
She
did
could
that
have.
on their
She could
own
have though.
tuition.
She could have though,
Yeah,
and no one would really blame her, right? We'll go, yeah, stick those guys on those thugs, right? But she didn't do that either.
nope.
So she didn't advocate for vengeance. She didn't incite for more violence. She didn't take it upon herself either. Why? Because she understood the stakes. She understood. Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to take all those guys on my own. And if I retaliate, it's just going to cause a war, and we're going to lose that war,
Yeah,
right? Like it's like that's a tough spot to be in, you know. And that's what makes her a compelling character, right? A very and yeah, a sympathetic and empathetic character for sure,
yeah.
and relatable because you're not just looking at her like, oh, she's a woman, and somehow because she's a woman, I identify. Like, no, she's a person,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and she's dealing with great adversity, like in an impossible situation that you know I don't think we could ever really understand unless we're
Oh,
actually in it. God forbid we should ever be in it. But so yeah, it's just great storytelling and all the way around, like just great character
absolutely.
development, and it had to happen that way. You know,
Yeah,
uh, it had to. And that's what I'm saying. And so even the heroes, they're not painted as ultra righteous, right? But they are painted as men who are they're human, right? They do feel, they do empathize with people around them. They don't
yeah,
see themselves as above, And I think that's what's compelling about that particular episode, especially.
Absolutely.
Because they're just like, yo, we can't just not do anything. Like
Yeah.
like it's like, and that's why when they did act, they had to take them all out. Like, we got to take them all out. We can't just, you know.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's a powerful episode.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes of the series.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's really sad. Um,
it's really sad, but it perfectly illustrates why like a real life apocalypse is not fun and it's not cool. It illustrates it illustrates the the real tragedy of the loss of innocence in women and children, and it illustrates why exactly we need we need real men. And
yeah,
all in one episode.
yeah, that's exactly right. You need dangerous men, right? And that's the thing, right? There were men there, but they're not dangerous men. They're not warriors, like you were saying earlier, right?
Yeah.
Some of these men used to be cab drivers or something, or pharmacists and whatever, and they turned into these warriors, these warlords and thugs and whatever. And but others, right, are simply trying to survive, and they're working, they're doing, but they're not warriors, right? They're not thugs, they're not, and so they're not gonna win against guys who have lost all, you know, sense of dignity and respect for life,
No.
right? You know what I mean? And that's just reality. Welcome, Marcus Manning TV. Thanks for joining us, man. Glad you can make it. But it's like you need men who are dangerous. And that's another sort of ongoing theme throughout this series as well. Is the need for dangerous men, right? These men, excuse me, like Ken, trained to learn how to kill, basically.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they trained to kill, and it sounds brutal and terrible and
But
barbaric.
that's why there's only one successor, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
But in a
there's
general sense, though, it's in a world full of danger, right? You need dangerous men. I mean, that's just reality. You need dangerous men who are under control, right?
well,
You
yeah.
don't
I mean,
need just men who lack control, right? We have plenty of those too, right? But we need dangerous men who are under control, right? Because
well,
those
it's
are the soldiers, those are the warriors, those are the ones that are going to protect everyone else,
yeah.
right?
Well, it's the whole. It's what's the saying? A warrior in the garden is more valuable than a gardener on the battlefield.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. Um, because and there was a time when they were one and the same.
Yeah,
you know, there was a time when the warriors were the farmers and vice versa, and that's because of the constant shifting of society and especially modernization. There's a huge separation between those two things now. Now farmers are just farmers, and soldiers are in the army. They're in the military. You know, you
yeah,
know what I mean. They're not all, but and so forth and so on. Right? We're so segmented and fragmented in that sense. But there was a time when they were all kind of one and the same, like the movie Gladiator, right?
yeah,
Maximus was the general in the army, but he was also a farmer. He had a farm, and he was a family man. You understand?
yeah.
It's like that made perfect sense. Right? That's what it was, right? That's where the soldiers came from, right?
Hmm.
They all have lives outside of military, right? And we've kind of deviated away from that quite a bit, you know. And stories like Fist of the North Star is a good reminder that we need dangerous men, right? We need men who are dangerous, but they're under control, right? And that's what Ken ultimately represents. A dangerous man that is under control, right? He has self control. He's wielding a very powerful weapon, which is his own body, right?
Yeah.
But he's doing it in a manner that is responsible and it's to the benefit of others, right?
Right.
Especially those who are the most vulnerable, right? And that's needed. That's always needed. I don't care how technologically advanced we get, you know,
I mean, yeah.
we'll always need dangerous men who are under control.
Yeah.
Period. And but see, what happens is with the modern sentiment, we're constantly told that we don't need that. We're constantly told, oh, we don't need we don't we don't need guns. We don't need that. You know. And it's like reality begs to differ.
Yeah.
You know. But it just shows how like you're saying, a lot of folks, especially in Hollywood, they're very out of touch
Well,
with
yeah. I
with
mean,
people and with reality in general. You know.
people will say they don't need something until they don't have it.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
exactly.
there's the people, a lot of the people advocating like, oh, we don't need guns or weapons or police are the same people who live in gated communities and, you know, can hire security and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So,
They have their own privacy. They'll hire dangerous men
yeah, yeah,
because they can afford it. Right? Yeah, but not all of us can afford that, so we have to be dangerous ourselves. We have to be all those things on our own because we can't afford to just hire someone, right?
right.
You know, but yeah, but yeah, Fist of the North Star sort of embodies that lesson. Um, we used to have a lot of, even Mad Max was a little bit of that as well. You know, Akira, represents that lack of checks on power, right?
Yeah,
Allowing our emotions to overpower our good sense, you know,
yeah.
sense of good. So yeah, it's like these are all sort of cautionary tales in many ways,
Hmm.
and good lessons for us to learn. It's kind of like not that it's disappeared. I think it's still around. I think we see it a lot more in anime
Yeah, yeah, we do.
than we do in other like Western storytelling. Although
Well,
there are
my
films out there.
my fear is that if they do reboot, because they've done reboots of Fist of the North Star before mainly Shin Hokuto no Ken, but it I feel like a lot of the, and maybe it's because it was a shorter series, but a lot of the emotion of the series was sort of taken out and focused more on specifically the hyper violence, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah,
Characters look even bulkier than they do here, so which I
yeah.
didn't think was possible.
That's kind of what they did with a lot
The
of the
soundtrack
criticism.
was like hard rock. It wasn't like a mix of different
Yeah,
things.
because they're focused on the superficial aspect, right?
Yeah.
And it's the similar issue with the Watchmen movie versus the actual comic series,
Mm,
where you have this sort of overemphasis on the extreme violence, right? The hyper violence,
yeah.
and it looks cool, right? Visually, and they can make it look
Yeah.
awesome, but then it's like where's the substance behind it, right? What was the kind of the point of it? In the comics, the point was to sort of emphasize it to send that message of how ridiculous it would be,
Right.
right, for these people who have these amazing abilities to be among regular people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah, they would be causing all kinds of damage and chaos and havoc, right? Like you know, it's a completely unfair dynamic, right? And that's kind of what the Watchmen was this criticism of superheroes, not a celebration of it, right? It was more of it was meant to be a deconstruction, and it still is, but I think some have taken it beyond that,
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting, to see that happen, where it's like, oh, guys, that's not the point, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
the movie was well done, but yeah, I know that was a comment. sort of critique of the movie itself, right? Was that
Right.
emphasis on the hyperviolence. Um,
Yeah,
and
I
I don't
hope
know,
that.
hopefully they won't do that with Fist of the North Star. But
Well, I mean, we'll see. I hope that a lot of the spirit and a lot of the lessons remain intact.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hope this soundtrack is just as dynamic as the original one. Like this, one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. When they want you to feel sad, you will feel you will feel sorrow.
yeah.
I don't,
You feel all the feels.
yeah, like
Yeah,
whenever a trumpet comes on in Fist of the North Star,
yeah,
it's
prepare you.
not a good thing.
Yeah,
It's
brace
just
yourself.
not. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
like
a good
it's
point.
probably one of the most melodramatic soundtracks I've ever heard. But also, like it's also like it's crazy because it manages to be like funky and action packed and all those
Yeah,
things as
I
well.
mean it is. The pacing is great. It's a great, compelling story. But yeah, it's gonna be some challenging aspects to it, right? The brutality of it all. So it's
Yeah,
it's gonna be the opposite of One Piece
you think it's
so
the
far as
opposite of One Piece?
so far as tone, right? The tone is far more like One Piece can get pretty, you know, intense, like,
Yeah,
but it doesn't go as far as Fist of North Star. So,
that's
which
fair.
is good. Yeah, it's still very lighthearted overall.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and justice is generally meted out pretty consistently. It's very rare, and I haven't seen the latest episode, so I don't know if things have changed, but that where there's
Uh,
like a total, like an episode 25 where we just lost. Everybody
yeah,
lost, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything
There's
like
definitely those. I guess
it's
so.
come close to that, like with the what was the one when they were escaping from um, the world government headquarters. I always forget the
That's
title.
true. Well, I also think of when
They
they
rescued
fight.
Nico Robinson, right? And that,
Yeah,
that seemed hopeless, and then but they still made it out, right? Like
yeah.
they still.
Well, I also think about when they fought. What's it? Kumo, I think was his name. I don't
Yeah,
know if
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That was like exactly. That seemed like, oh man, like they're not going to win this, right? Somebody's going to die, but they,
Yeah,
nobody died, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like they give you a good sense of despair, but then they pull you back out, right?
yeah.
And but Fist of North Star is a little different.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, it's even when Ken wins. Like I
Yeah,
said, in
it's
episode
still
25,
sad.
even though
Yeah,
they won, it's still, you know, it's
it's still
like,
tragic. Yeah,
yeah, her brother's still dead.
yeah.
He wasn't miraculously healed or rescued. Or, it
Yeah.
was tragic. Um,
Yeah. Also,
and
shout out to Nozomi Aoki for the great soundtrack. He's one of the composers on the show.
okay, yeah, definitely. Yeah. The soundtrack is really good. So
Yeah. So
very
I hope the music is just as good. I hope the fights, obviously with more of a budget, they should be able to pull some stuff off. But I
That's
hope
not
it's just.
wonder. Are they reanimating, redrawing, or are they
So
just
that's the thing, though, is
optimize it and
we
just
only have the only thing we've gotten from the new Fist of the North Star is this image. That's all we've gotten is this key visual. It's just this poster.
that looks cool?
It is cool, but this was a year ago.
So it's probably still in development.
I'm sure, yeah, but we haven't heard anything since. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope because they're redrawing One Piece, right?
I
They're
saw
doing,
that. Yeah,
which is like, okay, that's cool. They're just basically giving us better animation, like
yeah,
cleaner, more better rendered, all that kind of stuff.
yeah, and that's.
That's so hopefully it's just that, right? They're just taking the old
Mhm.
animation cells and just updating them and giving it a more polished look and feel.
Or it looks like they're reanimating everything, like what they did with Hunter x Hunter, where it's like
Okay,
you
yeah,
have the '90s show and then you have the new show.
yeah, that's right. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean that's fine. Just don't deviate from the original, like the pacing, the tone,
Yeah.
character, story. Keep that all the same. Just give us, prettier animation, basically.
Yeah. I
Pretty.
mean, the animation so far. I mean, at least the style. It looks. I mean, it looks good. It looks like uh, the current. It looks. It looks good. So we'll see. I hope that. I hope that it's good. I hope it retains the original spirit. And yeah, if you haven't yet, it's on Crunchyroll. Go watch it. Go
Yeah,
watch
check
this.
it out. It's a subtitle.
If you like any shonen anime or manga ever, go
It's
watch
really
Fist of the North
yeah.
Star. Literally, like,
Anything post like '90s, you can
well,
thank
even
the North Star.
even the '80s. This came
Definitely
out.
huge, huge influence on a lot of the stuff you like. So just check it out. There's also another one I've been trying to remember the name of it. Maybe you can help me. I don't know if you've seen it.
What's up?
Because when we started talking about Fist of North Star, it made me think of this anime, and I hadn't seen it in years.
Uh,
And I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me.
is it Rikio?
No, it's a. Let me tell you what it's about, and then you
Okay.
see if you can. And please, if you're listening, watching,
Yeah.
if you recognize it, please comment and let us know. But basically, it's a post-apocalyptic dystopian future. It's like military, high tech, and there's this guy who's kind of this ultimate weapon. He was
Oh, MD
crea-
Geist.
yes, MD guy. Oh, I didn't have to go that far. Yes, MD
Yeah,
guys.
you had it on VHS. That's
I
why.
know that. That's what I was trying to remember. I know I got to go in the room and like go through the shelf.
Yeah,
I didn't want to
MD
do all that.
Geist is the
Just put it.
exact opposite
It's
of
yeah.
Fist of the
That
North Star.
that's why I wanted to bring it up because it's like if like the Fist of the North Star is there's a lot of despair, right?
No,
It's
like
not it's not like I said, it's not One Piece, right? But there is hope, right? There's hope in the
yeah,
hero. There is justice to some degree.
yeah.
But with MD guys, there is nothing like that.
No, MD Geist. The the entire point is despair.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
goodness.
completely and right when you think there may be hope in the third act, they're like, nope, no, there isn't.
I was like, oh,
It's
you thought I was the good guy?
yeah.
Great.
Oh man, yeah, it's it is like wow, bro. And I remember when I first watched it, and I'm watching it going, I'm just thinking, okay, this guy is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's real powerful, um, and it seemed like he was kind of, you know, like maybe he's gonna do like the right thing or something, right?
No.
And yeah, he did not.
No, he
At,
didn't.
at the end of it all, he was pretty much as bad. Like if you think like I
Well,
don't know
think
if you
about it. In the
remember
context of the show, he is a super soldier. He's
yeah,
literally built for war.
yeah, he's built for war. He's
So
built
it's
to
like,
kill.
oh, you want
Yeah,
to get rid of the violence? No, thanks.
no thanks. Yeah, like that's what he's made for. And that's kind of the whole question right throughout the series. You're thinking, is it possible for him to sort of not be this killing machine, to actually forego what he was made for and be something more, right?
Yeah,
Be a human.
yeah.
Um,
The
no,
answer wasn't
the
no.
answer was no. And it's like, yo, but and it came out in 1986, right? So
Yeah.
kind of parallel to Fist of North Star. So that's why I
So,
wanted to
well,
bring
Fist
it
of the
to you.
North Star, the original manga came out in 1983,
Yeah,
and the show
yeah.
came out in
So
84.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so you have on the one hand, like you have that dystopian future, post-apocalyptic. There's a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff in the 80s, 70s,
Yeah.
and but there's like a thread of hope, right, with the Fist of No Star and all that. And then you have MD guys, and they're saying, nope, there is no hope, like at all.
Yeah, it was bad.
You're gonna be stuck in perpetual
Like
war
great movie, but
for the
yeah,
rest of your life.
it was awful.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Great soundtrack. I love
The
the
animation
soundtrack.
is beautiful. Yeah, soundtrack is awesome. I do recommend if you like post-apocalyptic dystopian stuff, but it is depressing. Like it's there is no happy ending.
Yeah,
Um,
one that
spoiler alert.
yeah, no. One
There's-
manga that Afrocentric Jukebox recommended is called The Horizon. That
the
one is
Horizon.
definitely a lot more hopeful. In similar vein of Fist of the North Star, where
Yeah.
a lot of despair, but there's hope at the end. It's from the perspective of two friends, a boy and a girl. I actually did read that one. That one was actually really good. What's great is that there's barely any dialogue. It's a lot of it's visual.
Oh,
So
interesting.
check out The Horizon. I think you can read it online. I'd highly recommend it.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check it out. But yeah, I wanted to just bring that one up because I'm like, yeah, this in contrast,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's like,
MD
dude.
guys, and yeah, maybe we can go more in depth with that one another stream because it's an interesting movie,
Hmm.
and it's a lot of great scenes. There's a lot of machismo, right? Like we're talking about masculinity, right, and toxic masculinity. You know, MD guys is probably a good example of that.
I mean,
is
yeah,
is if you're a lady, you're sensitive, you probably don't want to watch it. It's pretty intense. Yeah, because there's him and there's a female character that he hooks up with, and it's kind of interesting because at first she's with this gang or something, right? And
yeah,
then they pick on him or something, and he just kind of takes them out easily, of course, because he's
yeah.
just and then so she's like, yeah, what's up, baby? And like just like that, like
Yeah,
she's like, hey, I'm with you. I
boy,
got
it's
your back. Like,
survival of the fittest.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a, what's it called? Red pill, right? That's a red pill movie.
I guess, yeah. I have
Yeah,
to
it's
if
a
I can stomach it, I'll watch it again because yeah,
no,
it's
it's
pretty.
it's good. Listen, it's not
Well,
it's
no,
a
I
great.
mean it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it
I
is. It's brutal. Like Fist of the Star is brutal. This MD Guys is
feel like
great.
MD Guys is a little worse.
It probably it's yeah because the main character he definitely rebels in it, right? Like
Yeah.
he's oh, and you find out like I think what's kind of subversive about it is he presents one way and you think that at some point he is this sort of anti-hero,
Hmm.
right? Um, but you find out, yeah, he's not a hero at all, and he's just using others to get to his goal to which is basically to become even more powerful than he already is.
Right.
Like that's literally right. Like he was supposed to just sort of like Lord of the Rings, and they get to the pit, the volcano,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they have the ring, and he's supposed to throw it in, and Frodo's like, nope, and he puts it on. He's Frodo.
Oh my God.
Like, he's Frodo. And the only difference is Frodo intended to throw it in, and then he just fell victim at the last moment, right?
Yeah.
This guy, no, he always intended to keep the ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
he,
Yeah. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
realized he never planned to destroy the ultimate power. He actually was like, yeah, this is what I wanted all along. Like you guys,
Hmm.
you suckers help me do it. That's basically the gist of the story. He basically uses people who are actually trying to, you know, change things for the better, and he
And
uses
he
them
makes
to,
it
to
worse.
yeah, to basically make things worse because now he has this power that's ridiculous, because it's some kind of like power suit and like connection satellite uplink. I don't know.
Well,
You know,
I think he always had the suit. I think.
no. He integrates himself with like a more powerful like mecha or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at the end, that's what I'm
I
saying.
gotta
Like,
watch it again.
yeah, it's crazy. It's like, yo, this guy's a jerk. it's,
Yeah.
it's like we thought he was gonna be this anti-hero, like kind of like Riddick, right? You've seen Chronicles of Riddick,
Oh yeah.
right? And you think, okay, Riddick's supposed to be this bad guy. He's wanted. He's by the law and all this stuff. But he turns out to be the hero, right? He saves the planet. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It's not that at all.
Yeah. It's the exact opposite. Just switch that around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's like what if Riddick uh, didn't save the planet, but actually took over the
Yeah. What
whatever
if
they're
Riddick
called,
actually was the bad
necromancers.
guy? Yeah.
and actually just then destroyed the planet anyway and kept on. That's basically what MD Geist is. It's like, yeah, it's a crazy movie, man. Because like I said, it threw me for a loop. Because I honestly wasn't sure. Once I got to the third act, I was kind of like, okay, what's gonna happen? Because
Mhm.
I'm not sure if this guy is gonna really like save the day.
Yeah, you're just sitting there
you know,
wondering, like,
and you start to realize, I don't think he is. And
no,
then you get to that moment, and you're like, yo. So but yeah, it's definitely like I said, it's definitely kind of a red pill movie. Like especially in the beginning, the first act, and even the some of that second act, with the girl and everything. It's like
oh yeah,
you get a sense of like, yeah, that's kind of accurate, right? Like,
mm.
because like I said, her allegiance is based on who's more powerful, who's the strongest, who's gonna survive, and so she's kind of that way, like kind of wishy washy throughout. Of course, she ends up sticking with him anyway, right? So
Yeah,
because he is the most powerful, and but it's like, yeah, that's when I first started, I was thinking like, yo, she changed allegiance real quick.
yeah.
I thought she was gonna like run away screaming or something, or you killed my boyfriend. Like, nope,
No.
she got over it quick. It
Yeah.
was like, oh, you powerful? Okay, yeah, let me make you some breakfast. Like literally, that's what that's what happened. Like, let me make some breakfast for you.
No, I remember. Yeah.
And I remember she's like pleading her case. It's like, I'm useful. I can do this.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is wild. So yeah, definitely. It's kind of this underrated anime. Like I don't see it brought up very much. So
Well, most OVAs fall into the cult classic
yeah,
sort of
yeah, because
label.
it's
So,
it's like, yeah, it didn't
because
really.
like unless you bought it on VHS, you probably didn't watch it because it wasn't on cable. They usually were not on cable for
Yeah,
that
that's right.
specific reason.
Thank God for Suncoast Video.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I got most of my anime from, Suncoast. So
Yeah.
back in what the '90s, whatever. So, but yeah, like even on IMDb, it's like 5.4 out of 10. So it's not really
Yeah.
seen as very good. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a compelling story. It was unique. I think that's probably why, because there is no happy ending.
Yeah, no, there's no happy ending. It is. There's cool fights. There's some cool action and great music, but it's very. I would say it's depressing, but it is. Well, I mean, it does.
It
And
is because he's supposed to help stop this doomsday device, right?
yeah, and it
But he
doesn't. He
doesn't.
turns it on.
He literally turns it on and he braces it. Like I said, he puts on his mech and he's like, "I'm going to be the only one that survives." Basically, that's basically it. That's the
Yeah,
gist of it. So yeah, um, another opposite of Fist of North Star. So
yeah.
no sacrificial hero here. Right?
Well, let us know what OVAs you guys grew up watching. Let us know if
Yeah,
you're
definitely.
excited for Fist of the North Star,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
let us know if you have already seen the original Fist of the North Star. Let us know what you guys
Yeah,
think about
yeah. Did you
in the
like it?
comments
Did you
below.
enjoy it? Yeah. And how were you introduced to it? Like, how old were you? Did you watch the series or did you just watch the movie? So let us know.
Yeah, watch the
We can
series. The
find out.
series
Yeah,
is
the series
definitely
is better.
better than the movie.
Yeah, the movie is just consolidated, like they tend to do with a lot of anime. Just
Yeah,
consolidates like the series into
yeah.
one movie. So
There's definitely some cooler scenes in the movie because it is reanimated.
yeah, it is.
But yeah, watch the series.
Yeah, please do, and yeah, let us know. And please like and share this video if you're listening to the recording, and if you're live, like and share. And thanks for joining us for another Super Galactic Saturday. We appreciate your time and your support, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you around. You're already dead.